Do you love or hate annuities? Either way, you need to understand how annuities work. In this video, I'm going to break down the different types of annuities, and then make sure to stick around to the end where I share the decisions you need to make in order to figure out if using an annuity is right for you in your retirement. This information is highly important as annuity sales hit a new record high in 2023. So more and more people are buying annuities, and more retirement researchers are suggesting that annuities can help meet the common goal retirees have of wanting more income and not running out of money. The first step to understanding annuities is determining the purpose of the annuity. Now really there are three different types of purpose. There's really three purposes for the annuity. The first is income. The second is tax deferral. The third is growth. Now there's different ways that your annuity can provide income and different ways the annuity can provide that growth. I'll get to those soon. So let's talk about the one thing all annuities have in common. All annuities have in common this idea of tax deferral. Here's how that works. The first part of tax deferrals is understanding that your taxes get paid later on. This helps because you don't have to take money out of your accounts every year just to pay the taxes on your annuity income, on your annuity interest. Now, when you get to 59 and a half, you're able to take money out of the annuity with no tax penalty. But then if you're younger than 59 and a half, there will be a tax penalty of 10% on the interest on the gains that you've earned. That's how the tax deferral works. The second part of the annuity is the income. Now you can get that income out in several ways. Historically, an annuity is just handing over a lump sum of money to a company, an insurance company, to get a periodic income. That's called annuitization. Another way is something called a living benefit, which I like to call a payout annuity. The money's being paid out to you, but you didn't do that annuitization. I'm going to talk about that later because that's where annuities really can get complicated. The next type of getting income is something called withdrawals. Just like taking money out of your bank account, but with the tax rules of the annuity. The third purpose of an annuity is growth. And that growth is going to be based on whether you choose to get growth on the ups and downs of the market, or an interest rate that's paid out to you, or some sort of hybrid. I dive into that when I talk later on about how to invest your annuity. I'm Mr. Retirement, and I want you to get more interest, pay less in taxes, and avoid big retirement mistakes. Subscribe to my channel, Mr. Retirement, so you can stay up to date with all the latest trends on how to get the most out of your retirement. Now that you've learned the three different purposes of an annuity, you need to understand the two different types of annuity, which is really related to when you get your money back from an annuity. The two different types of annuities are really immediate or deferred. Immediate annuities are typically called a single premium immediate annuity. You hand over that money to the company, the insurance company, and immediately they start paying back an income to you. The second type of annuity is called deferred. That means the income isn't happening now, the income's happening later. Generally, that's all other annuities that are out there that are not the single premium immediate annuity. Now let's focus on how you can invest your annuity. The three different ways that you can invest your annuity is fixed interest, variable up and down, basically in the stock market, and then a hybrid, where it's a hybrid between the fixed and the variable in a way, otherwise known as a fixed index type of annuity. Let's start with the fixed type of annuity because that's the easiest one to understand. And with a fixed annuity, the best comparison is to a CD. So let's compare that to. With a fixed annuity, you get an interest rate. With a CD, you get an interest rate. Not too much different there at all. pretty similar, but there's a lot of studies that suggest that the fixed interest rates that are out there historically have been higher than the rates on CDs. Now, how can that happen? The main reason why these interest rates are often higher than the interest rates on a CD is because there's more penalties for taking the money out. There's more of a lockup to these fixed interest rates. Typically with a CD now, if you take the money out early, there might be 90 or 180 days of interest that you might lose from cashing in your CD early. When it comes to a fixed interest type of annuity, there might be as high of a 9% penalty that you could lose, not just the interest, but even on the money that you invest. So there's a higher penalty, a higher encouragement for you to keep the money there, which is one of the ways why the fixed annuities often can have a little bit higher interest than the CDs. Another part of these fixed annuities that's different than the CD is often the time periods are longer. Where a CDs, you might quite see a 6-month CD, 12-month CD, perhaps a 2 or 3 year CD. You often see with these fixed annuities 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, perhaps even more, a longer time frame that you're required to keep the money there. If you're required to keep the money there longer, you get compensated most often with getting a higher interest rate. Now, another difference between the annuity and the CD is that tax deferral as well. You get the taxes on the interest deferred on the annuity. The CD, whenever you have the taxes or whenever you have interest earned, you get taxed now. You'll get a 1099 from your bank every single year you have a CD, whether you took the money out or not. With the fixed annuity, the fixed type of interest on the annuity, just like all the other annuities, you don't actually get a 1099. You don't pay taxes on that growth unless you take the money out. Now let's talk about the variable type of annuity. And the best comparison there is a mutual fund, where both ought to go up and down with the stock market. So just like a mutual fund goes up and down in the stock market, your variable account can go up and down in the stock market. Another difference is that typically a mutual fund will have a lower cost. There's often a higher cost with a variable annuity. And one part of that variable annuity that's different than the mutual fund is, again, you get that tax deferral. You get to defer those taxes as opposed to the mutual fund. Every time you earn interest and dividends and gains, it's taxable every single year. So you look at these differences, really with the variable type of annuity, there's the benefit of deferring the taxes until later on. Then it comes with the higher cost quite often with the variable annuity. So you need to decide, is this tax deferral worth it? One part of keeping that in mind is that the tax deferral comes out to you in income taxes. And sometimes with a mutual fund, especially those gains, if you meet the rules, you can get those taxes on long-term capital gains that they're called. Now, the taxes on long-term capital gains are often lower than the taxes of income taxes that are higher. So when you're investing with a variable annuity, you are thinking of a mutual fund instead that is a bond mutual fund that kicks out income. Well, if it was inside of a variable annuity kicking out income, that would be the same type of taxes, the income taxes. That might make it worth it on the bond side of your investments to look at the variable side. Now, the mutual fund, you've got to keep in mind that if you kept it in the mutual fund on the stock side, yes, those gains would be taxable every year, but then they would come out as a long-term capital gain. You get to defer those stock gains on the variable side, but it comes out at the most likely higher income taxes. That's something to weigh and keep in mind of which one's more important to you, the perhaps lower taxes of the mutual fund or the tax deferral of the variable annuity, which is why quite often, if you do have a variable annuity and a mutual fund, you might put the bonds into the variable annuity because the taxes get deferred on the bonds and you don't lose any of the difference in the taxation. But on the stock side, you might put that into the mutual fund because you can get that capital gains tax treatment, which is often then lower by having the stocks inside the mutual fund. Let's talk about that hybrid type of investing into the annuities. That hybrid type of investing is called a fixed index. It's called a fixed index because you get a fixed rate of return. It doesn't go up and down with the stock market, but it's based on most often the stock market or an index. Now, a lot of people want to compare it to the stock market, but that's just plain wrong, both legally and practically, because this is a fixed product. It's under the different rules of the fixed annuity regulations that are out there. The best comparison is not the stock market when it comes to the fixed index types of annuities. It's the bond market for two reasons. One is that historically the returns on a fixed index account are similar to bond returns. And then also too, when you take a look at how it works out, the annuities are most likely investing into a bond type of portfolio themselves. So kind of what's backing the fixed indexed annuities are quite often more bond based. So really the best comparison is to the fixed indexed is to the bonds. Roger Ibbotson, who's a famous financial researcher, he did a 9-year study on fixed index accounts versus bonds and stocks, and he saw that the bonds over the 90-year time period did 5.3%. These fixed indexed types of accounts, they returned 5.8% on average, and the stocks, those had returned basically 10% on average during his 90-year time study. So you can see that the fixed index type of annuity is the best comparison to the bond. So you may consider the fixed index annuities as a replacement of bonds, but I would say that they are not a replacement for stocks. They may be indexed to stocks, which is what you might hear participate in the market upside. But participate does not actually mean get. And let's really talk about this part of this because you often hear that the fixed index accounts are compared to the stocks. There's two main reasons why participate in the market does not mean actually get the return of the market. One part of that is dividends. With a fixed index type of account, you do not get the dividends of the stock market. I looked at the S&P group, which publishes the S&P 500, and they found that roughly 1/3 of stock performance over time comes from the dividends. If you lose the dividends, they're saying you lose access to 1/3 of the potential stock performance. Another reason is that yes, with the fixed index, you get rid of the downside. You get rid of the account values, the account performances below zero. But you also get rid of the upside, and that's a big deal. The S&P 500 averaged 13% over the past 10 years, which is great. And yet only 1 year did it ever get exactly 13%. That was 10 years ago in 2014. Most of the performance, fully 2/3 of the performance over the past 10 years came from 2019, 2021, and 2023, when the S&P 500 returned 31%, 29%, and 26%, way above the 13% average. Most of the long-term performance from the stock market comes from the times when the market itself goes wildly above the averages. So if you give up the chance to do better than average because you're afraid of going below zero, you're giving up a lot of that overall long-term performance in your investments. That's the two main reasons: the above average performance you give up and the dividends you don't get, which is why you really should not compare fixed index accounts to stocks. The best comparison of fixed index type of annuities is to bonds. Now that you know how the actual investments of annuities work, it's good to know how living benefits, or perhaps you would call them income benefits, how they work. You might often see with annuities, especially those fixed index annuities, features that say things like a 10% bonus or 7% income growth. What these are talking about is not your actual account value. It's not a bonus or growth on your account value. What they're most likely referring to is the income value of your annuity. And that's a key distinction, the difference between account value and income value. Now you might think of income this way. If you have $1,000 and you earn 5% interest and get $50 out in income, you would think those are all connected. They are connected. Your interest, your account value, your income, they're all related. With annuities that have these living income benefits, there's really two values that are going on simultaneously. The account value, which works somewhat the way you might think, and then the income value, which is different. When you see a 10% bonus, that is a bonus most likely on your income value. When you see 7% income growth, that is a growth on the income value. It's not talking about your actual account value growing by a bonus or a specific amount available there. And if we're talking income, there's a third piece of this, your value, the growth, but there's a third piece that I don't see promoted as much, but that's the payout percentage, right? It's the income value times your payout percentage that all goes together. So you can't just focus on the 10% bonus to the value or the 7% growth of the value. You need to know how they all work together. Here's an example. Imagine you have two different annuities, and annuity 1 says 10% bonus. Annuity 2 has no bonus. Annuity 1 has a payout rate of 4.5%. Annuity 2 has a 5% payout rate. Now imagine you have $100,000 invested into both annuities. This 10% bonus would go on the income value at $110,000. Remember, that's just the income value. And then you get a payout rate on this higher income value, 4.5%. That comes to $4,950 of income. Now, you look at the other annuity, and you might say, I don't want it. There's no bonus there. Well, if the payout rate's 5%, 5% on $100,000 is $5,000. Your income is actually higher on the annuity that didn't have the bonus rate compared to the one that did have the bonus rate. It's not saying that bonus rates are bad. It's understanding that the bonus rate that's given to you goes on your income value, and you need that other factor, that payout factor, to understand what is the income that you're actually getting it. So when you're looking and comparing these different annuities, and the ones especially that have these payouts, a common way to do that is a tool called Annuity Rate Watch, where you can see not just the bonus, not just the income growth, not just the payout rate, but how all three of them come together so you can compare the different annuities to see which one gives you the highest income overall. There's a lot of different annuities, a lot of different ways they can grow and pay you income, which is why you need to figure out which one is best for you. When you're deciding if you should buy an annuity, you need to first ask yourself, am I trying to create income or tax deferral, or just trying to make an investment? Then decide if you want that income right away or starting in the future. Then you need to decide how you want your annuity to grow. Is it based on an interest rate or the market or some sort of hybrid? And if you're trying to get income from the annuity, you need to focus on the overall income you get, not just the bonus, not just the income growth, not just the payout rate. Now that you know the right way to approach buying an annuity, it's good to avoid the wrong ways to approach retirement planning. I show you how in my next video, 3 things conventional retirement wisdom gets wrong. I'll see you there.